I'm joined by Dominic McGregor of Social Chain.
The way I think you can only really know someone is what they consume on the internet between the hours of 11:30 and 12:30 when no one else is around.
So you're another year sober now. How long is it now? 2.5 years?
2 years, 9 months. I've gone from 23 to 26. So when you mention that you don't drink to 26-year-old, they get it.
So when you do it to 23-year-olds, they get it a bit less.
There's no situation where I feel like I'd ever need to drink. It's the same way if we were sat here talking about cocaine and I said, I'm never going to do cocaine again, you wouldn't question me.
If you're drinking, especially heavily, you'll be less picky about your social engagements.
Yep.
Because you know that if you've got shit or boring friends, or you've got to go to some party that you probably don't want to go to anyway, kind of doesn't really matter because you can just sedate the boredom by getting lashed. Like if you want to go out and drink, that is fine, but you have to concede that that drink is either at the best keeping your life the same length or making it shorter. Every night out and every drink that you have is bringing you closer to death. And that's a fact. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm joined by Dominic McGregor of Social Chain fame. How are you, man?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Welcome to my studio.
Yeah, it's nice, yeah.
It's really lovely here, isn't it? It's been almost exactly a year since we sat down.
Yeah, a year. Yeah, about a year and 2 weeks.
Yeah. Almost exactly bang on. How have you been last year?
Yeah, been really good. I messaged you the other week because I was in the gym and a lovely woman called Tracy said to me, I heard you on a podcast. I went, oh, hi. She's like the PT there. I've never seen her. She must be new or something. And she's like, which one? And she's like, Modern Wisdom. I was like, okay. And she's like, since I've listened to that podcast, I've stopped drinking. I've done 6 months and my whole life's changed. And I was sat there like, I remember why I talk about all this stuff so much.
Sobriety.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm so happy for you. And she was really lovely, had a nice conversation. And then literally, that was as I was walking out the gym, and I picked my phone up and I texted you and said, look.
Gotta go again.
Gotta go again. It's been a year because it came up on my memories on Facebook, you know. Man. Everyone checks it every single morning. What was I doing 6 years ago? Oh my God, delete that. 7 years ago, delete that.
That's all it is, isn't it? It's just a way of moving the window of whatever you've got going on in your life, just like this. Yeah. So there's nothing after whatever period you've put. And in 7 years' time, you go, "Oh my God, I was doing this today." Like, I'll get rid of that.
So some of the comments are the most cringiest things I've ever put on. Like if you don't look at your memories, look at them. And just think, who was I? Yeah,
you're a different person. You're totally right. But yeah, man.
Should we get Mountain Doom today?
No, we're not. However, later on we are going to look at our suggested videos on YouTube. Do you want to explain what you think about suggested videos on YouTube and how they're a window into someone's soul?
So yeah, everything. Obviously, we Social Chain work in social media, so we do a lot of paid social and advertisements. So we kind of hypothesize that we know people better than they know themselves, but we definitely know we know people better than their spouses or their best friends know people, because like the things you do on your phone and the social media that gets stored, but you never tell people that. You never sit there and be like, oh, last night I did this, or last night I watched that, or I really like this picture. So I went home to York and I was talking to my friends and I was just talking about some of the stuff that you can do on social media now, because they all work in like very traditional worlds. And I said, all that aside, like between us all here, we know each other. Well, we've been friends for 15 years now, but we don't really know each other. Okay. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, the way I think you can only really know someone, actually the easiest way to really know someone is what they consume on the internet between the hours of 11:30 and 12:30 when no one else is around. That's who you are. That sums you up as a person.
It cuts so deep. It really cuts so deep.
That history of what you've watched, YouTube, internet, whatever you want to look at it, is who you are as a person.
Let's get it out.
That's your weird thing, and that says more. That'll say more about me and more about Chris than we could sit here and say in our own conversation.
Okay.
Mine are really boring. You've been like well into Brexit and researching that recently. Is it just a lot of political stuff? Number one.
It's good.
Empire. How Britain made the modern world.
There we go.
That's pretty normal. Mm-hmm.
Number one for me, Littlefinger is the protagonist, Game of Thrones ending.
Straight onto the Game of Thrones content.
Yeah.
Breaking news, Theresa May's Brexit deal rejected.
Oh, God,
Got to get a Brexit on there.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll scroll through a couple. Game of Thrones Season 8 teaser, White Walkers.
Yep.
Bit of Game of Thrones in there.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing too bad. How China's rise will change the world.
I think I've seen that one as well.
Yeah.
So I've got some Jordan Peterson.
Yep.
Joe Rogan on Leaving Neverland. Is
Oh my
just
God,
an image
yeah.
of him and Michael Jackson, which is a bit bizarre. Graham Hancock, Ancient Advanced Technologies of the Gods. Graham Hancock's like an Egyptologist guy. Now I really don't know how this is on there. So Gary V Archives is on there.
We've got a big Gary V fan in the house.
I could not be further from the truth about Gary V. Now, Gary, if you're listening, actually, just please don't listen. Please don't listen, man, because anyone who does a collaboration with K-Swiss to put the words hustle and grind on the bottom of shoes needs to get in the sea. Like, Gary is, I totally get why he is a seductive personality for people at this kind of go-getter 21st century thing. And
Americans, you mean?
yes, yeah. It's a very, very kind of Americanized, make it on your own type approach, which, you know, for some people that might be what they want. But there's a few things that Gary's not going to be able to get around. And one of them is, anyone who is listening will know Matthew Walker on Joe Rogan, number 1109, Why We Sleep. If you...
Great podcast, by the way.
Unbelievable podcast. Will be linked in the show notes below. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it and it will change your life. I watched it about a year ago and it changed mine.
It's the only podcast which I've listened to which sent me straight to sleep.
Yeah, that's a good point. But that was like out of desire.
Out of desire.
Yeah. And
I've always wanted to drop that punchline somewhere, you know.
You're such a nerd. Before we've come on, we've like nerded out about Game of Thrones and Warhammer and all this stuff, and I've had too much caffeine, and now we're just going to bounce between different things that make us seem less and less cool. Well, that's fine. But yeah, man, like that Gary V thing, like, you can't get around the fact, Gary, that if you're having 4 hours sleep a night, you're going to die early. Mm-hmm. Like you're just going to die sooner. It's a fact.
He. Yeah, I don't agree with a lot of things he says. I don't agree with him. But I think he's he's found the niche and a demographic of individuals who follow him. Mm-hmm. Bit preachy, but when we look at the world now, we're all trying to find some kind of like way to belong. Mm-hmm. And if people find peace in themselves with supporting him and his attitude, and they progress their life, I don't know. Do I agree with that?
Well, it's whether or not...
Am I trying to find something just to say nice?
Something nice about Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, you've managed to find one more thing than I can. So, but yeah, man, like
I had to dance around it for a bit.
You are right. Like if he is giving people some form of a sense of, I can go and do this. I have the capacity to work hard and achieve things. Then great. My concern is whether or not people. One of the problems with lumbering people with the sole duty of making themselves successful means that you completely remove any connection to the bigger picture. Yeah. Like your failings and your successes are purely at the behest of your feet. And you're like, well, hang on, that means that anything that I do or don't do is my own fault. And you're like, well, fucking hell, there's like an awful lot of randomness in the world and an awful lot of luck. Like you are a perfect avatar for someone who is right place, right time, right skill set. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the net impact it'll have will overall be negative because people will criticize themselves because they will put the hours in, they'll put the no sleep in, they'll put the grind in, they still won't get anywhere.
And now they're going to die early.
And they'll burn out. But if there's one person who's taken his advice and actually, changed his life, and then because of him done something meaningful, that's probably one positive.
You are trying to net
but that's how I approach everything.
I couldn't agree more.
I've got to try and have that like balance.
Balance for you. Well, you're a COO, aren't you? So you need to be diplomatic with everything that you do. So you're another year sober now. How long is it now? 2.5 years?
What are we on? Yeah, When it's July and we're in March, so 2 years, 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the second. This year is like literally this year. It's just been a weird. It's a weird one because now I'm at a point where I don't remember. I really don't remember what it was like to drink.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so past it now that like I'm just beyond it. It's really hard for me to talk about it now because I just don't recall the feeling.
Like a different person.
Yeah. And again, like I said, I was back home at the weekend, and one of the guys who was 2 years above me from school was there, and he said that he's going to do a year sober because of health, because of things he's seen, and obviously he said that I was a big influence on it. And I said to him, like, I think I said last time, you don't see an impact until 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So like the whole dry January buzz, like you don't see a difference in the 3 weeks, whatever you do in January.
Mm-hmm.
You won't see it. You know, for me, the difference, like I saw in the first year, and then in the second year, is completely nominal to what I'm feeling now.
Yeah.
So it's like,
which is bizarre because at the time you're actually like, oh my God, this is world changing, and then you in a year and a half goes, that's nothing.
I know. So it's like an exponential growth in yourself. Obviously the start is very rapid because there's such dramatic changes.
Yeah.
But you get to a point now where like life isn't like, it's actually going to sound a bit weird, but people who need to find things like meditation and other aspects to find peace, and who search their kind of like
inner self.
Yeah. Like, I don't feel like I need to do any of that because I've already got it. I've got the balance in myself at the moment already. I can just be,
mm-hmm.
rather than having to like subscribe to like quick fixes or other things to try and like focus or relax. So like I'm just like in a complete state of okayness.
I wonder how long that equanimity will continue with sobriety, because I do think that a lot of that will be due to contrast.
Mm-hmm.
I think
definitely,
even though you're not potentially able to remember the specific sensation of what it's like to be drunk or hungover, the second order self-referential thoughts will still probably be there, like pretty front and center.
Yeah, it's all relative. So like,
yeah, so you'll still be just like in this weird holy heaven of God, like I have so much fucking time, I have so much fucking money, I'm able to have so many more calories. Like,
it's fantastic, the best part of it.
Yeah.
I went out Saturday night till about 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
All right, which is you know, if you were drinking till late night, you know, I'm not drinking.
It's a late finish sober. Yeah.
Late finish, and I've been ill since then. So like it's all relative, but like I'm still going out, but I'm feeling worse.
Yeah.
So like what I have learned this year is that drinking does build a slight bit of resilience within yourself. So I am more, when I over-exercise, I'm more susceptible to illness.
100%, yeah.
I've got issues with my gut, which I need to manage because taking alcohol out means that you grow bad bacteria.
Is that true?
Yeah.
So alcohol would clean it out to a degree?
Alcohol cleans you out. Obviously, like a nominal aspect,
amount
of it.
Yeah.
But like you create a culture in your gut which allows you to harbour negative bacteria.
Okay.
Because you're not putting any toxins in there to rid them.
Yeah.
So you've got like there's things that your body is such a wonderful thing, that everything is in balance. And when you do
reach homeostasis eventually.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point now. This year I've been like discovering there's like other things that you've got to manage. There's always something to manage. So it's been again like I've been focusing on my sleep. So when I go out till 3 o'clock, my immune system's like, "What are you doing? Like, get back to bed." Like, honestly, it's if you break the routine, it really does damage me. So in that sense, like, I think that, you know, alcohol does build resilience, but you can build resilience other ways. So yeah, it's been a fantastic journey. Like, I'm confident now that I'm never going to drink again. Like,
okay,
like that whole idea is completely gone from my mind.
So this was something that I wanted to touch on. One of the last questions that I asked you the last time we sat down was something that I'd been pondering for a while about people who choose to go sober to get themselves around either substance dependency or an a more habitual dependency on the situation and on the feelings that come from that. And that I think there's an argument to be made that going completely sober still allows the substance to have some degree of control over you, but that a reintroduction of it on your terms is the ultimate completion. And you said at the time that your feelings were you weren't going to drink for the foreseeable future for as long as you could see. One of the reasons being a fear about potential relapse and also just that you didn't want the downstream effect of drinking full stop. Where are you at now with that?
So the way I think about it now is that my problem never was the drinking. The problem with the drinking was a side effect of what was like inherently wrong with me. So it was an escape mechanism. So I would turn to that when I needed to funnel my energy and anxieties and situation and escape it. So I can now deal with that feeling elsewhere. So I can deal with it through going for a walk, or I can deal with it with just, having 20 minutes of silence to myself and kind of processing it and getting it out of my system. So I don't need to turn to alcohol to solve that problem anymore. Also because it's detrimental when you turn to alcohol and use it to solve them problems. So I don't need it for I was using it before. So then it becomes a complete question of health and lifestyle choices, because you're not dependent on it anymore. You're not a substance abuser, but you make a choice that why do I need to bring that back into my life? And if again, I think I said last time, if I can ever find a reason why I need to bring it back into my life, I will. But I can't
right now.
I can't foresee a situation where I never needed to bring it back into my life. I can't. There's no. I could do like I said, I do everything I want. I can go out. I can spend time with friends. I can go to the pub. Like there's no situation where I feel like I'd ever need to drink. And it's just like I said, it's the same way. If we were sat here talking about cocaine, and I said I'm never going to do cocaine again, you wouldn't question me.
Yeah. So I did a podcast with Ed Lattimore, who is a very, very clever guy. Again, sings from the Sobriety hymn sheet. A little bit more. I think he's maybe 6 years sober now.
Yeah.
And released this podcast on, I think it was like New Year's Day this year, and his birthday came up shortly after. Wished him a happy birthday. And it's like, hey man, like loved speaking to you about this, and I linked him to our last chat. Loads of resonation with that as well. And he said this line in it, man. Fucking hell, like, it just hit me so hard in the feels. And he said, "Alcohol is the only drug where if you don't do it, people assume you have a problem."
Yeah.
Like no one's going up to you and going, "Oh man, like why are you not taking heroin today?"
Yeah.
Like, why are you not like sniffing a big fat line on a morning or like after work or whatever? You're like, but with alcohol, actually, someone very clever and contrarian on Twitter piped up and said, "Coffee's
the same.
Caffeine's probably the same."
Yeah.
What? You don't drink coffee? Like that's the only one? But then maybe 50 years ago, people would have said the same about smoking. Maybe 100 years ago, people would have been like, well, you don't smoke. Doctors were prescribing. There was adverts saying more doctors smoke Camels than any other type of cigarette because that was some sort of like accolade for why you should smoke Camels.
Yeah, I've not thought about smoking before. Yeah, you're probably right, because when it was first introduced, it was cool. It was cool, wasn't it? It was chewing tobacco and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, I've never thought about it. Yeah, but completely, it's the only drug you have to justify not taking. The only thing.
Are you getting bored of having to justify it now?
I don't need to justify it anymore. I think people
everyone that you're in contact with now just knows.
Everyone that is two things. I think it's been 3 years now, so I've gone from 23 to 26.
Yep.
So when you mention that you don't drink to 26-year-old, they get it.
So when you do it to 23-year-olds, they get it a bit less. Yeah. That's so interesting that there is a line, and it is around that time as well. Certainly between the age of 23. I don't think that exponential growth in your own self-understanding can occur really before 22, 23. There seems to be a moment that it hits.
You don't know yourself.
However, for some people, it's that you see people that are 40 and 50 years old who still haven't gone through that. But yeah, it's so interesting that there appears to be a big fat middle distribution of people who maybe didn't understand and now do.
Yep.
In the space of 3 years.
100%. So when I first did it, I was like, people were saying, "Oh, why were you so boring? Why? Why didn't you loser?" Now it's like, "Oh, I wish I could."
Yeah.
And that change is literally like 3 words, "Wish I could." And that's when you know you're on the right track. And I hear that over and over again when I meet somebody new. Who is, probably
I wish I could do it.
25 plus.
Once we finish, I'm going to take you through a couple of things that we're working on at the moment. For now, some of the listeners may know that we've got some things going on behind the scenes, but I wrote the equivalent of a manifesto between Christmas and New Year, which is a Sobriety Manifesto. It was 3,800 words, and I did the entire thing on my phone while I was watching Christmas films. Yeah, like my thumbs were wrecked. So just RSI for days. Wrote the whole thing on my phone, and they were talking about so many of the things that we've brought up. The fact that if I don't drink, I'm going to miss out on social engagements. What would you? So I want to hear what you would say if someone was like, "Oh, if I don't drink, I'm worried that I'm going to feel like an outcast around my friends when they're out on a night out, or maybe they'll stop inviting me to things, or maybe I just won't go." What would you say to that?
I'd say take a situation. Okay, take probably one of the most the top social occasions that we probably have in our age, weddings. Okay, weddings are renowned for drunkenness from family, from people. Imagine going.
Even the dog's drunk at a wedding. Even the
dog's drunk at a wedding. But take a situation where you can drive to the wedding. Yeah, so you're not in a situation where you're getting last minute, taxi turns up, taxi's late or whatever.
You don't have to get that awful minibus back for 45 minutes from wherever in the sticks it's been.
2 a.m. Yeah. You're in complete control the whole time, okay? You get there, you turn up. It's very awkward because there's so many different people from different backgrounds. So everyone's in the same situation. Not many people know many people at the wedding. You probably know 5 or 6 people. And you'll go and meet people throughout the night. So that's why weddings tend to have that kind of collective, we need to get
it's a bonding process, right?
Yeah, because we only need to cut the ice because we don't know many people here, so we're going to do it. And that always kind of snowballs, and you end up hearing horror stories of people getting drunk and embarrassing. I went to a wedding previously where someone got so drunk that they thought they saw the groom with another girl on the day of the wedding in the toilet. And he brought that out to public, and it caused the whole issue. And his girlfriend was fighting. Like, all things always go wrong at wedding. Why do you want to be involved in that?
Yeah.
Being sober, you can go there in your own terms. You can enjoy it. You can have good food. You can have good experience. You can dance a little bit, and then when it's ready to go, because there always is a time when you need to go. As much as people say, "I want to stay one more drink," there's always a time when you need to go. You get into your car and you leave, and you wake up the next day and just look at yourself and said, "I did enjoy that. I enjoyed that. I had a good time. I enjoyed seeing it. I enjoyed it sharing a special day with somebody.
I can remember it.
And you know what? I'm going to go to the gym now."
Yeah.
So
you're totally right. You're totally right about that. There's a number of things that I wrote in this particular manifesto that kind of trigger off the back of that. I've worked somewhere in the region of 1,000 club nights across my career, and I can tell everybody that is listening that nothing worthwhile happens after 1 a.m.
No.
Like, it is the absolute worst of human behavior manifest, like fights and club kissing. Like, no one really wants to be a part of either of those things. No. Even if you're enjoying the club kissing at the time, you cringe about it the next day. Then when it comes to the social engagements thing, I think what happens a lot is if you're drinking, especially heavily, you'll be less picky about your social engagements because you know that if you've got shit or boring friends, or you've got to go to some party that you probably don't want to go to anyway, kind of doesn't really matter because you can just sedate the boredom by getting lashed.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, so hang on, what you're saying is
all the awkwardness as well.
And and all of those sort of things. Downstream from the awkwardness, or what's referred to as approach anxiety and pick-up artistry for both men and women. If the only way that you can go up and speak to someone at a wedding is once you've had a drink, you have never cultivated the capacity to actually go up and speak to somebody.
Yeah.
You've outsourced it to this exogenous version of courage, which is alcohol.
And it's so, you are so much better learning that skill than relying on alcohol. Because going sober, that's one thing you do learn. You learn to have the self-confidence in yourself, and that you hold yourself in a high self-esteem to be able to approach someone and have a conversation with them. And like, people are trying to buy that, the whole quick fix lifestyle. Alcohol is a quick fix in that situation. Or you could take a step back, invest in yourself, grow your confidence, and then be able to hold yourself in any social occasion.
It goes back to what you said about your coping with stresses from work, where you're like, I've had a hard day. I'm running this business that's essentially like me holding on to 100-mile-an-hour speed train, like just with one arm on the final thing at the very end, like desperately trying to, like, I'm flapping around in the wind. And one of your coping mechanisms was to use alcohol, but that means that you can't cope.
Yep.
Like, as a byproduct of that, if you take the alcohol away, so here's a question that probably a lot of people are thinking. I don't think we got into it last time. What was coping with stressful situations like the first few times that you weren't drinking, when you were no longer able to sedate yourself on that?
You had everyone, the feeling still existed. So I was still feeling bad and stressful, and I had that emotions inside me. So I had to do something about it. So what I did was I turned to something else. So I focused my energy at first on food. So I'd have like a really Moorish meal, just to forget about, like, to take yourself.
So you've switched the coping mechanism from one to another.
Yeah. Or I'd go to bed early to forget about it. Anything which kind of gave me
that's escapism there, almost, right? Okay.
Anything to give me that sense of escaping.
Yeah.
Alcohol does it in one way because you're blathered. Sleeping does it another time because you just forget and you go away.
Yeah.
And food does it because you kind of, completely fixated on the Moorish food, and then you kind of do feel a little bit afterwards because you just put crap inside you, but it's short term, and then you are tired and go to sleep. So it was taking that feeling, that emotion, and processing it in a different way.
And then there must have been a point at which you transitioned from that to it not actually, you're not needing to use any of those mechanisms, and you actually being able to sit with the emotion.
So it's simple cognitive behavior therapy. So take the action, reaction, stimulus, response. The stimulus was stress, the response was food. Okay, so now you get stimulus, response. The food was bad at first. It was, it was pizzas and burgers.
Because to interject there, for people who are looking at you now, they wouldn't know that you were fat. Two and a bit years ago.
Real fat.
Proper fat.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. So
jiggle as you go downstairs fat.
Literally.
But now you look fantastic. Like, you've got the perfect runner's build, which is good because that's what you do.
Yeah. So then I just swapped that to tons of food and tons of healthy food. So I'd have like 4 salmon fillets with like tons of broccoli with mayo, like shit loads of food.
Yeah.
And then obviously over time you can manage that down, then portions down and bring it down. So I got to the point where if I was having a bad day, I didn't want to eat salmon and broccoli. That'd literally be my stimulus response. Shit day, feel crap.
Salmon and broccoli.
Fantastic.
Can you imagine how many people would say, do you know what it is? I had a bit of a dependency on alcohol for a while at a young age. And then I discovered salmon and broccoli, and I was like, I'm fucking sweet. But yeah, man, like, I genuinely believe, and we come at this from 2 different angles, and I'm now 6 months into 18. So
why 18?
Because I'd completed 6 without any challenge. I'd done 6 through winter time. All my stints of sobriety have almost been the same period, which has been just after Halloween, until around about May time. And I know that the most challenging period for me is going to be through summer. I don't know whether you still get this, but for me, in a beer garden, British summer, 6 p.m, sun's low, good music on, and I just think, fucking Copperberg. Like, it would be. It's just there's nothing quite now. Copperberg do a Copperberg Blue, which is kind of cool. They've only recently brought that out, but there's just something about that where I was like, I don't get itches to drink.
Yeah.
I'm not a big drinker naturally. But that's one time, and I was like, right, I want to see. First off, I completed 6 months. I was like, 12 seems like a figure, but 18 seems like a motherfucker. So I'm going to do 18. And by doing it, I knew that I'd go through 2 winters that would be a little bit less difficult, but 1 summer, which would be pretty tough.
I feel like there is a replacement for everything, and like for Copperberg's, kombucha. Like, honestly.
Man, you can't go into a British pub like as the Black Bull or something in Alderley Edge and be like, excuse me, I see that you've got Copperberg on the menu. I wondered if you have any kombucha because my microbiome in my gut is saying to me, by the way, have you heard that Lord of the Rings are coming out on Warhammer? Like...
You just sum me up.
No, I've completely rumbled you.
Sum me up him. That's what I sound like as well.
No, it's not.
But that it gives you that feeling. Like I was like, and do you know what? Like kombucha is fermented tea, so it has like a little bit of. It's not alcoholic in any sense of the imagination, but it's got fermented tea in it, so it does is
triggers on some form of similar pathway.
Yeah. So it does feel very refreshing. It gets that. Like my thing was always a pint after football.
Yeah,
I'd play football. I'd always want to have like a real pint, and I couldn't. The non-alcoholic beers were crap. So I just changed that for sparkling water because the fizziness is the same.
Yeah, I get that.
And you get that sense of just chugging it down.
I really hate sparkling water, man. It just tastes...
But kombucha?
Kombucha, man, I'm fine for it. So I want to move on to some stuff to do with social media. I was talking to Theo on the way up, and we were laughing about the fact, I don't know whether you saw recently, but the UFC, it was maybe about 3 or 4 months ago now, they put out a tweet, and it was a big announcement. It might have been 100th anniversary of something or whatever. They put out this huge tweet that obviously spent a fair bit of time building up to it. Big fuck off typo right in the middle of it with a spelling error. And there's no speed at which you can get onto the internet to delete that tweet like quickly enough. And it just started getting retweeted and like 5K, 10K retweets, a big old fat tweet. I wanted to know about, you guys have got, was it 600 million reach or something like that?
Yeah, in the million, hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions of reach online.
Yep.
That means like, and as much as you can have the things are prepped in advance and there's a brand design and an architecture and there's briefings and this, that and the other, at the end of the day, there's a person with a button who has to press it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
all of this funnels down to one person's finger.
Yep.
And then they have to just they press it once, and once it's gone, that's it. Like, it's out into the world. And I just wanted to ask what it feels like to have that kind of titanic responsibility, not only for yourself, but the brands that are behind you.
Oh, God, what does it feel like?
Do you get nervous before, like, a big campaign goes out? Or is that kind of stopped now for you? If that man presses a button and there's a typo in it, like... Dom, yeah, mate, I'm really sorry.
Frustrating.
Yeah, no,
it's frustrating. Twitter's the only platform where you can't edit it.
Yes.
So like Facebook, Instagram, you've got control in your edit, and like we aren't as dependent on Twitter anymore. So we don't do much on Twitter.
Okay.
So like historically, it was a nightmare. Like it was like you'd be there like, oh God, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like now it's like. Twitter, like the products are there, like to edit. So you get like if it happens, it's annoying, but you get around it. But with Twitter, you've still got. On my own person, when I tweet and I get a spelling mistake, I'm just devastated. I'm like, oh, Dom,
are you more bothered about messing it up yourself or for clients, or is it equal?
I don't do it. I don't run the clients, so it's hard for me to like. Put myself
if you see someone who's a representative for
your
company,
it's like it's just that feeling of like
bollocks.
Like no, like in them situations, almost like no one's to blame because everyone makes mistakes. Yeah,
They didn't mean to only put one F in effective.
Yeah, no one ever meant to do that. Like if it was like gross negligence, then people would like that's a different story. But
Yeah.
I'm in a situation where I am really bad at spelling. I'm really bad. I'm dyslexic.
Mm-hmm.
So like when people make mistakes, I completely understand it because there's times when I read back things I write and just words are missing. Like, I'm sure I put that word in there.
Some of the sentence is absent.
It makes no sense.
Moving forward, what do you think is going to happen with social media as we go on? I don't know whether you listened to the podcast that I did with Rory Sutherland, which was about the psychology of advertising. And I asked him the same question. Over the next 5 years, do you think that people are going to continue to give away their data for free and their attention for free? What do you think is the future of the social media and the attention economy as we move forward now?
It's exactly that. So you are competing on attention, okay? And what will cause the biggest shift is if consumers realise the value of their attention and their value of their time, and they start choosing to spend that time wisely. I think if you look at the suite of products that exist at the moment, in that world, you have entertainment, which is predominantly TV. You have gaming, which is always growing. You have friends and real life interactions you put in there as well. And then you have social media. They're probably the four. You probably put sport in there as well. It's probably as a separate thread. They're probably the five places where people spend their time. And then it's just the question is, where do people want to spend their time? When you look at some things like entertainment, is there a negative connotations to sitting there and watching Netflix series? Probably not. You can probably do that and you can probably feel good about yourself. Gaming, probably again, probably more evils in gaming, but also some positives coming out of it as well with kind of the skills that people are learning. So people are putting more and more time into gaming. Social media has a lot of negative connotations. Are they going to be opting to choose to spend their time on social media with the backlashes that are coming out now? They will probably be on social media, but when you take the emergence of a platform like TikTok, I asked someone, what do you like about TikTok? And she said, and hand on heart, she said, it's the only platform where no one is being arrogant, talking about themselves, bragging, and it's just fun.
What's TikTok?
Oh, I don't know what's TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok is it's like an endless scroll video. It's like Vine, essentially, but for full screen.
Okay.
Really big, 750 million followers, really big in China and the UK. It's really growing really quickly.
Okay. Is it the thing where people do memes to like singing?
Yeah, that's what it was at first, but it's evolved now.
Okay.
And it's got no messaging. It's got no...
and like pure IGTV.
Yeah, and people are just being nice on it.
Okay.
So like people it's entertaining. It's it's fun. So it hasn't got the people updating them statuses. It hasn't got any
competitive aspects.
Yeah. So I feel people now are looking to spend their time in more positive ways because we're all starting to wake up to the point that our attention is valuable, and we're all starting to understand that we only have time left. So we are being more wise about how we spend our time. Hence why I think there's this middle part about spending time with family and friends is growing, because there's some key things which are kind of like, I feel like the world's moving back into connectivity in general. So for the first time in 24 years, physical book sales increased. So people are now buying physical books again. Okay. Because they want that feel.
That time away from screen.
Yep. So that entire digitalization it's probably not reached peak for all industries, but it's kind of reached a point where people are now starting to value connectivity and touching and physicality again. So people are now spending more time with their friends, and when you go out with your friends now, people are actively saying, get off your phone.
Yeah. What do you think that means for yourself, obviously having to trigger on these industries?
It means that as a business or personally?
As a business.
As a business, we are competing in the economy, of attention economy, so we have to play where people are playing. So in the gaming space, that's a growing market. What can we do there? Can we grow a gaming publishers? Can we work on in gaming products and marketing? Entertainment. Brands want to move into the branded entertainment space. Can we produce content which goes straight to Amazon, Netflix, where people can have a piece of attention? So for us, we we are a social first business, but that doesn't mean we don't operate in other areas. What we do is we take the insights and knowledge from social, which can mean social media, but social interactions and social relationships, and then that we build a marketing campaign off the back of that. So that the social insights could tell us that we need to do a out of home campaign. So it is we're not dependent on any platform, we're not dependent on any product, but what we are dependent on is the data that we collect from social media,
which will inform things moving forward. Do we do an experiential campaign? Do we do a whatever campaign?
Yeah. So the business model is solid. It's very diverse. It's in a good position, and it's not dependent on if Instagram switched off tomorrow, we'd still be here. Yeah. If Facebook turned off tomorrow, we'd still be here.
Might make the next couple of weeks a bit difficult. You'd be like, oh, bollocks.
Probably worse for clients than us.
Yes. You can move between.
We can navigate. We can navigate. We can look at new areas. We can launch new services. So we're looking at development. Obviously, help thrive in the studio. Podcasting.
Yep.
Would you say podcasting is a social product? 2 years ago, probably not. Yes, probably now. It fits into that space, so we're launching branded podcasting for clients. Pretty
little thing, that podcast is unbelievable.
Yep. So we're being reactive, and we're moving to where the growth in the market is. So that's our mantra. As long as we're ever changing and we're keeping brands at the forefront of what's possible, we'll be fine. And what's possible can be anywhere.
So
social.
If you are someone who does social media either as part of a small company or potentially even just as a consultant on your own, continuing to be adaptive is going to be key over the next few years. Is that one of the things you'd say?
I'd say also as well, probably take social media out your name, because social media, I think, it puts people in a box. What we're talking to clients now is about serious business problems and how they can use social to solve them. Not just social media, social, like a wider breadth of social to solve their business problems. Not just looking at, when I think social media manager, I think schedule tweets, the person that presses the button.
Yeah.
When I think social insights and social strategy, I think how can we use the information from social media to determine where this brand's going to go. Example, take KFC. KFC have probably been the best when it comes to social media in the fast food space. Their entire campaign to launch new fries was driven through social. So they were doing social listening and seeing what people were saying about their fries. And there was tons and tons of tweets of people saying that KFC have the worst fries.
They do. Or they did.
They did. So obviously that social insight there and that conversation with people has informed natural business change. They've gone, okay, our fries are crap. This is what people are saying about them. 30 years ago, if you sold a bad set of fries to someone, no one would ever tell you.
There's no feedback mechanism.
No feedback mechanism. So people have actually been looking at social media, what people say about KFC. They've identified a problem and they've turned it into a marketing campaign.
How do you categorize that then? You're totally right. Is that using social? Probably not. Would a social media agency class itself as that? Also, again, probably not, because it's not to do with, you're right. I think social media, I think the guy that schedules the Facebook posts, I think the person that sat behind Ads Manager.
Yep.
I don't think about the person who is using the inherent discourse and direct line of communication between yourself and the customer to inform more typical business activities.
Yeah. And that's what I think big businesses are now starting to realize, is that the social media is no longer just a team of two people who run the pages. That's where your insights are coming from. That's where you can actually understand your customer, your product, your future. Also
bi-directional as well.
Exactly. So there's so many instances now where brands are going straight to people on social media. Take Qantas yesterday. Quant 2 days ago, a 10-year-old boy wrote a letter to the CEO saying that he's just starting an airline, handwritten. He's asking for advice from the CEO of Qantas, and the CEO replied, and he replied saying like a proper letter, saying this is what you do.
Headed paper,
everything's signed. You put that on social media. That takes 20 minutes of the CEO's time. Put it on social media. Like the brand sentiment that generates from them looking at that, like, that is a nice thing to do. I like you as a brand. That the media they'll get from that will be bigger than any advertisement campaign they could get. And that's from 20 minutes of time, 5 minutes of the social media manager to post it, and it's out there.
Do you think that moving forward, there is the potential for, well, I know that this is already the case, but do you think that customers and yourself need to be wary about people triggering those mechanisms in a manipulative fashion? Obviously, it's easy for someone to start faking those kinds of situations.
Yeah.
Because we know that this is the sort of thing that will resonate with our...
Yeah, completely. And when I saw that, I thought it was a PR stunt. You know, I'm wearing Mr. Skeptical hat on here. I'm like, I'm pretty sure we've pitched that similar idea before about that to clients because it what works on social. But I did go a little deeper, and you know, I'm probably in the top percentile of people who will skepticize around it because I understand social better than most people and understand brands. So when I start hearing people thinking, is it real or is it fake, that's when I'll probably be a bit concerned. But it's the most important thing now is the two most important things are authenticity. As a brand, are you authentically who you say you are? And if you're not, people aren't going to buy into you. We did a piece of research which said for the first time ever, brand values and brand causes which they supported, like social causes, was more important than price point. So literally, what the brand says about you is more important than price. People will pay more money if it means they're buying or seem to be buying from somewhere which has a positive social impact. And then personalization. So personalization, talking to people where they want to be spoken to, talking to people how they want to be spoken to. So I'm at an age now where, as a consumer, I shop on my terms. You don't determine the terms that we shop on. I'm not going to follow the full funnel approach. I don't want that. People don't want that anymore. They don't. They have so many abilities to purchase here, purchase there. They'll decide where they want to be purchased. And as a brand, you have to not think of you're in control and driving people down the funnel. You have to be able to speak to them where they want to be spoken to. So that's why you're seeing the rise of loads of social commerce and other areas. Taking personal shoppers online because everyone has a different way they want to experience things. And that's what the brands that will win will be the ones that can cater wide rather than narrow. Think about if you have a 1 point purchase, a shop, you're never going to be able to cater for everyone because not everyone will pass that shop and people will not go out that way to go to that shop. The whole days of when we were kids and we were like, oh, I really want to go to the Trafford Centre. Doesn't happen anymore. Kids are not like waking up saying, I want to go to the Trafford Centre.
I don't know.
At 16, 17 and spending the day walking around there.
True. Do you think that at a younger age bracket, like the 5 or the 4 to kind of 11 age, do you think that it's going to be difficult to replicate that magic of walking around somewhere like Toys R Us or a large toy store? There must be something inherent that triggers on kids.
Oh, okay. So this is one of my biggest. Toys R Us missed the opportunity to be the home of toys.
Okay.
They should have.
They could have gone. They stayed as Blockbuster, but could have been Netflix.
Yeah, they could have turned it into an experience.
Yeah.
You go there, you play with the toys, you have games, you have PlayStations, everything.
Like IKEA.
Like IKEA. If they did that, they'd still be here.
IKEA is basically Toys R Us for married couples, isn't it?
Yeah. You see it now in M&S. M&S are putting cafes and stuff into all their shops because they know their demographic wants to come and have a coffee. All right. And
I go into, there's an M&S right next to me and it is 2 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, rammed.
Good food.
Absolutely rammed.
You know what you're getting?
Everyone's having salmon.
Yeah, you know what you're getting? You're getting good food. You're going to have a couple of hours there. You're going to pick up
read a book,
you know. Yeah. But they've catered to their audience. Toys R Us should have pivoted and created an experience within their store. Those that will remain will facilitate experiences. Will make it a place, like take the bar scene, for example. The bar scene's always ahead because there's so many micro trends. You know, you take Dirty Martini. How many girls and people do you see with a picture over them on their Instagram saying, get your halo dirty?
Yeah.
How many people go there just because they want a picture there?
Yeah.
You know, it's that experience which physical stores still allow you to have. And again, coming back to the point of people turning against digital aspects slightly, if you can facilitate an experience, take IKEA, you know, you walk around it, you're still going to purchase something. And the best example of this, going back to what we were saying earlier, Harry Potter Land.
Unbelievable.
You walk through there and you're literally throwing money out.
Yeah, I would have.
You want a bit of butterbeer straight away.
Yeah, that was the first thing I did. Have you been to the one in LA?
No, I've been to one in Florida.
Oh man, well, I'm going to guess they'll be similar. I think the one in Florida was first, and then the one in the one in LA is a little bit newer. But man, like it, I was, see, before we started, you were like, how old were you when you went? And I was like, harping on about how much I liked it. And I was like, I was 30 when I went. And my inner 11-year-old was just losing its shit.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic. Like it was, and you're totally right, it was experiential. And there is, until VR or AR gets to an ungodly degree of fidelity, you're not going to be able to recreate that. So yeah, and again, fucking shout out club promoters, like the guys at Dirty Martini with the halo backdrop. For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, just search Dirty Martini on Instagram and you will see thousands of girls and guys, some guys, posing in front of this particular backdrop. And we've triggered off the same. So we saw that Dubai was using a lot of flower walls, fake flower walls. A grand later, we've got a flower wall in our club. Students are getting photos. Every student's now got a photo in front of our flower wall. Everyone.
And that's the thing. Like, if you play in that experience space, you're gonna be sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
You will find a way, as long as you're constantly innovating as well. What that experience is.
So does that mean that if you're a purely online business, and you're not prepared to actually make that move into the physical world, you're potentially going to start to run behind a little bit here?
No, again, it completely comes down to knowing your audience. So we're talking about dealing with kids here with Toys R Us, so they want to play. When we're looking at something like a Boohoo or a Pretty Little Thing, they understand what their audience wants. They want convenience, they want fast fashion, they want outfits for the weekend.
Yep.
Again, it comes back to the point we were saying, social allows you to understand your audience and their behaviour.
Yeah.
You need to own that lane and stay in it. So a brand which does both, Holland & Barrett, okay, their mantra is that they want their people who work for them to be experts of health, well-being.
They actually are.
Yeah, they're really good.
Excuse me, can you tell me what's good for joint health, please? Yep. And then, sure enough, 5 minutes later, you know everything there is to know about omega-3 acids and
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
So they've obviously got a wide range of customers. They've catered very well for. One of my favourite jokes is that Holland & Barrett have an aging audience, an aging customer, which obviously shows it's working.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point, man. That's some marketing jokes for you right there.
Yeah. So, but that method of understanding their customer, how you translate that online to a 25-year-old girl who's looking at improving her hormones and getting better balance. Take my girlfriend, for example. How can she have that same experience?
Better hair or nails or skin or whatever.
Have that experience online that she still gets in store. And if them two things can mirror each other, they'll be able to cater for everyone.
So would that be the advent of things like live chat?
Live chat, personalization, WhatsApp, having WhatsApp conversations with them, Instagram DMs, all these areas where you can have touch points with people.
Yeah.
Having conversations with them.
I'll tell you what's hilarious. So in between our last podcast and this one, I went to LA last year. And I was like, man, I need to go and see one of these legal weed dispensaries.
They are.
So for anyone who hasn't seen this, if you can imagine walking into an Apple store, like where at the back there's a Genius bar, you go in at the front, you got to go through a little bit of security, and there's a security guy on the door. You got to go through a little bit of security, but then you walk in and there's iPads everywhere and there's super futuristic looking things, and you can move a little vent to one side and smell the particular. I'm not a weed connoisseur, so I haven't got a clue what I was on about. And you can go to the back, and at the back there's a group of like the geniuses, and you're like, oh well, sometimes I struggle to sleep and I've got this pain in my knee, and then every so often the dog annoys me, and you're like, yes sir, well what you need is our new sativa hybrid blend with this and this. And you're like, I just couldn't get away.
I literally had my CBD on me that I got from Holland & Barrett yesterday.
Did you? Nice.
It was on me. I thought I was going to pull out and do a little
wave it around.
Yeah, but it's that experience. You go, you think vape stores at the other end of it. They've got a guy with a tattoo and a beard in there who's like,
yeah, all right, mate.
Yeah. But you take that as a premium aspect. That the way you feel as a customer going through that.
Have you been into one of the dispensaries?
I've been to one of them. I've been to one in Vegas. Yeah, the way you walk through it, the way they care for you as a customer,
so special.
It's like, this is what retail needs to be like. And coming back to the point, it's on your terms.
Yep.
They want, and it's you are the person in control. No one's trying to like Tesco's when they hide the bread at the end of the shops. You've got to walk for everything. And, they're not tricking you. There's no
tactics.
No tactics. It's just, come on. So yeah, I think that's the key, is that personalization of conversation, personalization of marketing in general, and that's not just putting your name on a Coke can. It's much deeper than that, and the authenticity of who you are as a brand, living up to who you say you are, is where people will win. And I think that's when you take that back to how people connect, that's how you win as a person. You're authentically who you are. You're not two-faced. You have value. You live by them, and you're personal.
What you touched on earlier on is super correct, and the podcast that I actually did with Theo and Eve for you guys on Social Minds triggered on a lot of this, which is what we refer to as social equity and self-branding. The fact that I'm wearing a Nike SB t-shirt, what does that say? Or this says I can infer X, Y, and Z about Chris due to that. Hashtag ad. This is actually from the skatehut.co.uk. Thank you very much. Link in code below. But that says this particular thing about me.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, we move that forward to club nights. One of the most important things for us is you got a dirty martini. Like, what does that say about you? Okay, so here are the downstream implications.
You're going to come back to my Warhammer, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to come back to the Warhammer. But no one knows about that. That's your secret Warhammer room. And then, all of these different things. And you're totally right. I can 100% believe that brands' values and the causes that they support are more important than price point now.
Yeah.
Because everybody is searching for some degree of meaning. Everybody is held culpable and responsible due to this always on communication and this kind of serendipitous meeting that happens by people being online and seeing what you do, seeing your purchase history, seeing what you watch. Like if you've got a Spotify play, like you can hook your Spotify up to your Facebook so that your Facebook displays what you've most recently been listening to on Spotify, which means that almost your music...
And your Tinder as well.
And your Tinder.
Tinder that can link to Spotify now, yeah.
Oh, God. So you can go on and be like...
If people still use Tinder, I think they use Tinder and Hinge. But you can build out what people most listen to and stuff like that as well.
I don't think I would do very well on Tinder if I had my Spotify playlist on there. There's some dodgy stuff. But yeah, like,
What were you last... What you top songs 2008? It's 18.
For me, it's a lot of metal. Like, it's a lot of Bring Me the Horizon, a lot of Architects, because when I tend to be listening to music, I'll either listen to Anjuna Deep, which is my working podcast, which is unbelievable. Shout out to James Grant, who is one of the best producers in the world. Or I'm lifting heavy things and running fast. And that means I need some angry music. So those are the two ends, like the opposite ends of the spectrum.
I do the angry music for running, like a little bit of Enter Shikari.
Yeah. How are you getting on with your running now? Because you were doing
did the London Marathon, last year.
How do you find that?
Tough.
You are a long guy to run, right? Like long distance.
Your body just you realize things about your body that you never knew could happen. To you just get pains places. You could get
London
pains.
Marathon, a full one.
Full one, yeah. So you just got pains. You could get pain. You get pains. It was just.
What was your worst pain? Did you get any chafing?
No, I was fortunate. I Vaseline.
Chafe free.
I did a marathon 5 years ago, so I knew that was going to come. So I just Vaselined up everywhere.
Nice. So
that was fine. It was really real weird one there in the kind of calf abductor where that comes in.
Yep.
Like my shoulder.
That's bizarre from supporting yourself a little bit. Maybe
just running
posture.
IT band went.
Yeah.
So but it was a fantastic experience, and to do the London Marathon, it's a bucket list. So I love it, and I think it was one of the things which really pushed me, and I did it, and I know I could do it. So now I'm in a really place where I'm looking for the next challenge, but the problem is whatever the next challenge is, I want it to be bigger.
What do you think? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking a half Ironman at some point, but it's going to have to be bigger, and that comes with a massive training requirement.
Yeah,
and it comes with a massive lifestyle shift. So I'm taking a bit of a year out just to reset body, sort out some of the kind of fundamental issues I've got with my body in terms of I've got my left leg with my right leg, so when I run, I'm a little bit askew, hence the IT band. Get a bit more flexible, get a bit more strength and stability, and then have a better foundation to say, okay, what do I want to go do next?
Really properly build on it.
Yeah. So I'm at that point now, and I'm I am. Anything I do next, I am the way I am. I want to go bigger.
Yeah. That's you think COO of big company. Immediately think he probably races fast cars semi-professionally on a weekend. He does Ironmans. Like he's probably like a free climbing rock climber. It just appears to be this thing where people at the top of the tree, they have a particular a mindset that has hunger attached to it, and one of the byproducts of that is that I don't think that you can switch it off necessarily, and it would appear that now that you've removed alcohol and you've got this extra 20 to 30 hours a week where you're not either drinking or hungover, you're like, oh God, I really need to do something. Because even what's hilarious was if alcohol was a sport, you'd have probably been like at least national champion.
Honestly, I'd be regional, definitely best at it.
Yeah.
You'd
even taken alcohol to the extreme.
I was the best at drinking.
Number one drinker. So yeah, like, you know,
it's extreme. Yeah,
that absolute extremist approach to things is characteristic.
It is, yeah, and it is the reason why, again, going back to it, I don't think I can go back to alcohol because I'm extreme.
Yeah.
I will, like, that's why I'm so fortunate that I could just give up.
Yeah,
like I am so fortunate. Like my body says, I said to myself, all right, you're not going to drink anymore, and it was done.
Yeah,
in fine print, there's a bit more, but it was a case of, all right, I'm going to challenge myself now. I'm going to do it.
I spoke to Mike Casu about this, and I said that one of the things that I think about people who hit rock bottom or some degree close to rock bottom, i.e. they have a sufficiently traumatic experience that springboards them back out of it, is that you are given a degree of motivation due to the pain that you've gone through that does enable you to move forward. What I think is particularly malicious and nefarious and subversive is for people who are maybe a bottle of wine every couple of nights during the week and maybe a bottle one night on a weekend kind of person, because that is the silent killer that people don't really see. There's no sufficiently traumatic situation they've gone through. They're waking up with a fuzzy head, maybe there's some downstream longevity problems.
And it's a gradual decline. It's
death by 1,000 cuts.
Day by day, you never realize anything. Year by year, you never notice anything, but slowly you are slipping.
Decade by decade,
you do.
So there was a study done by The Lancet, which I will link in the show notes below, which was done over 1 million people, 26 countries, and it looked at the negative consequences of alcohol consumption on health. And they found that alcohol is an overall mortality risk, and the synopsis to the whole study is there is no safe level of alcohol consumption. Zero. There is no, I'm getting particular downstream benefits from having red wine because of something that comes through from the grapes. There is, you're netting a negative. There is no, I can have one beer a week because wheat does whatever, netting a negative. There is no safe level of alcohol consumption. And to reframe the conversation people are having about alcohol is, cool, like if you want to go out and drink, that is fine. But you have to concede that drink is either, at the best, keeping your life the same length or making it shorter. And you're like, every night out and every drink that you have is bringing you closer to death. And that's a fact. That is a fact. It's not going to extend your life. It may keep it the same or bring it shorter. And you're like, when that's the cost that I have to pay, am I prepared to pay it?
You're going to drink again?
Yeah, so I will do.
Yeah.
I will do. I genuinely believe that anything taken to an extreme, anything done in excess, it can be an error for some people. Good example was last year I pushed my solitude to excess. I created my version of Carl Jung's Bollingen Tower, which was a deep work space for me to really, really sort of dig my heels into breaking some habits that I wanted. I've developed a reading habit, which I'm super proud of. I've developed, like, my mindfulness has gone through the roof, which is fantastic. I had to pay a price for that. And the price was moving beyond solitude towards something that touched on loneliness. And that was a price I had to pay. Most people say, I spend some time on my own doing deep work, like Cal Newport's loving life at the moment, sat in an office on his own, soundproofed, like this probably. But I had to pay a price for that. And there is, when it comes to not drinking, there are certain experiences that I want to have, and one of those includes drinking. However, I can genuinely see each time that I've gone sober and gone back to drinking, the window of drinking has got shorter. So first I did 6 months sobriety, then 6 months of drinking. Then the second time I did it, I did 6 months of sobriety and 3 months of drinking. But within that time, I only went out 4 times. So that was 4 nights out. And now this time I can see I'll do it. I'll probably touch base with it again.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, this is how it feels. This is what it means.
Yeah.
It may be once, it may be twice. And I can see that being kind of the way that it goes.
Yeah, and I can come back to the point where I said I went out at the weekend, and I'm still feeling it now.
Yeah.
After 18 months of not drinking.
Yeah, still didn't drink.
No, but after 18 months of you not drinking, that first night out.
You're going to kill me.
That's when we're going to do the next podcast.
Fantastic. The next day.
We're going to sit here and I'm going to ask you the same question.
I'm just going to lay my head on the microphone like this. That's a good point, man.
That's when we'll do it, because, it's the same journey I felt in the first 6 months. I was kind of like, I was holding on to some things, some experiences.
Yeah.
And I think it's the next 6 months which are probably the most interesting for you to go through.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm into that now. So this is nearly
especially summer.
Nearly month 7. So I'm going away. I'm going away a lot this year. Got a lot of things that I want to do, and I think I hope that we increase the encouragement of people like your friend that you met in the gym. Mm-hmm. To think, do I want to break free of this rite of passage, which bizarrely somehow seems to have manifested itself in society where everybody drinks, and I feel like I have to as well.
Mm-hmm. And to take the cliches from the world that we live in right now, it's about taking back control. Mm-hmm. And having been in complete control of you and yourself and your actions at all points, wherever you are.
Well, that's the bizarre thing. Again, this is in the manifesto. I promise that I haven't shown it to Dom before, but he is almost quoting directly from it, and it shows that we've both of us have come to the same conclusions without having actually spoken about it. And it was that what I want to get through to people is that drinking is not normality. Normality is 100% cognitive control, maximum efficiency, total control of your personality, your actions, and that drinking impedes that. The only reason that people see sobriety as something which is so bizarre is because it's uncommon.
Yeah.
But if you want to be at the close to the best in your field, you need to be uncommon amongst uncommon men or women.
You got to be weird.
You do have to be weird, and thankfully we both are. Dom, man, it's been absolutely awesome. I'm going to navigate these microphones. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
We will do number 3.
A year's time.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you press subscribe, give us a like. Dom and his blog. Are you still doing the Teetotal Runner stuff?
Not as much anymore, but I'll just do the Instagram.
Link will be in the show notes below. Thank you very much.